What I'm about to tell you could completely change the way you think about happiness. Because most people spend their entire lives chasing happiness like it's something outside of them. They think it comes from more money, more success, more attention, more validation, or finally getting their life perfectly together. But here's the truth nobody talks about. Your brain is being trained every single day, whether you realize it or not. Every scroll, every habit, every distraction, every reaction. It's shaping the way your mind experiences life. And if you constantly feel stressed, mentally drained, unfocused, or emotionally stuck, it doesn't necessarily mean something is wrong with you. It usually means your brain has been conditioned into patterns that keep you overwhelmed. The crazy part is, neuroscience now shows that happiness is not just an emotion you randomly feel. It's a skill your brain can strengthen. Just like building muscle in the gym, your brain rewires itself based on what you repeatedly do. That means the small habits you practice every day are either training your brain for peace or training it for chaos. And most people don't even notice it happening. You know that feeling when you wake up already exhausted before the day even starts? Like your mind is instantly crowded with stress, pressure, comparison, and overthinking? We've all been there. The problem is, most people try to escape that feeling with more stimulation. More scrolling, more entertainment, more distractions. But that only makes the brain more restless. Because temporary dopamine is not the same thing as real happiness. And once you understand that difference, everything starts to change. In this video, I'm going to break down 7 simple habits that can literally retrain the way your brain processes stress, dopamine, focus, and emotions. These aren't extreme routines. You don't need to wake up at 4 a.m. You don't need to meditate for 2 hours. You don't need to completely change your life overnight. These are small daily habits backed by psychology and neuroscience that slowly rewire your brain into a calmer, happier, more emotionally strong version of yourself. And the best part? The changes happen quietly. One day you realize you're thinking more clearly. You stop reacting to everything. Your mood feels more stable. You feel lighter mentally. Not because life suddenly became perfect, but because your brain finally learned a different pattern. And once that shift happens, you start realizing something powerful. Happiness is not something you wait for. It's something you train for. So let me show you exactly how it works. Most people think unhappiness comes from big problems. They blame their job, money, their past, bad luck, other people. And yes, sometimes those things matter. But here's what most people never realize. A huge part of how you feel every day comes from the patterns your brain repeats automatically. Your brain is always learning. Every habit, every scroll, every repeated thought. And after a while, your brain starts treating those patterns like normal. That's why some people feel constantly anxious, distracted, or emotionally exhausted, without understanding why. Because the brain adapts to whatever environment you repeatedly give it. But here's the good news. Your brain can change. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to rewire itself through repeated behavior. Which means, if bad habits can train your brain into stress, better habits can train it back into calmness and emotional stability. And the shift usually starts with very small actions, like this first habit. Habit 1. Stop flooding your brain with dopamine. Most people wake up and instantly grab their phone. Notifications, social media, short videos, scrolling. And before the day even begins, their brain is overloaded with stimulation. Now, dopamine itself is not bad, but when your brain gets constant, easy dopamine all day long, normal life starts feeling boring. Focus becomes harder. Attention span weakens. Your brain starts craving constant stimulation. Get morning sunlight. This sounds simple, but it directly affects your mood, energy, and sleep. Your brain runs on an internal clock called the circadian rhythm, and one of the strongest signals that resets this clock is morning sunlight. When sunlight hits your eyes early in the day, your brain starts regulating important chemicals linked to mood and energy. But most people wake up and stay indoors under artificial light, so their brain never fully wakes up properly. So here's the habit. Within the first hour of waking up, step outside for 5 minutes. No phone, no scrolling, just sunlight and fresh air. And honestly, small habits like this create bigger mental changes than most people realize. Habit 3. Move your body. Movement changes your brain chemistry, not just your body. When your body stays inactive for too long, stress builds up, energy drops, and your thoughts become heavier. That's why waiting for motivation rarely works. Because motivation usually comes after action, not before it. Even small movement helps. A short walk, stretching, push-ups, anything that gets your body active. Because movement naturally lowers stress and improves mental clarity. And suddenly, your mind feels lighter. Habit 4. Sit in silence for a few minutes. Most people are overstimulated all day long. Notifications, stress, noise, constant information. So even when nothing is happening externally, their brain still feels overwhelmed internally. That's why silence feels uncomfortable for many people. Because when things get quiet, their thoughts get loud. But that awareness is important. So here's the habit. Sit quietly for a few minutes every day. No phone, no music, no distractions. And slowly, you stop reacting to every thought automatically. You create space between thought and emotion. And that's where emotional control begins. Now here's the most important thing. Do not try to change your entire life overnight. That's where most people fail. Start small. Pick just 1 or 2 habits. Because your brain doesn't change through intensity. It changes through repetition. And slowly, your mind starts feeling calmer, more focused, less emotionally exhausted. Not because life became perfect, but because your brain became more regulated. And once that shift happens, you realize something important. You were never broken. You were just trained differently. And anything that was trained can be retrained.